Dear people watching and listening, Assalamu alaikum. Kindly like and share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please support my channel by contributing to my Patreon account so that I can continue making the audiobook series. Start of part 2 of chapter 24. The High Priestess. After the battle in the valley of Miskiana, the High Priestess returned to the Orus Mountains as a victorious general, the only Berber general ever to defeat the Muslims in battle. She began to govern her newly established kingdom as its undisputed ruler and an even more highly venerated spiritual head of the nation. She was all-powerful. Power corrupts and total power corrupts totally. But power did not corrupt her. It just turned her head. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said, "A nation will never prosper that entrusts its affairs to a woman." The Berbers, without having any knowledge of this saying of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, were now to learn its truth. The High Priestess called a conference of her tribal chieftains. "All that the Arabs want in Africa is towns and gold and silver," she said. "All that we want of it is farms and pastures. The only thing for you to do is to desolate the entire land of Africa, so that the Arabs will give up their aims and not return to it till the end of time." She put this policy in action with diabolical determination. Her columns rode out in all directions, cutting trees and demolishing forts and razing towns to the ground. According to early Muslim historians, Africa used to be one continuous belt of shade from Tripoli to Tangier, bustling towns and villages adjoining one another for 1,000 miles, until the Kahina took charge of it and turned it into a desert. This, however, is poetic exaggeration because the period of aridity from which Africa suffers today had set in long before this time, in fact, long before the Christian era. However, Africa was undoubtedly greener and more productive at the start of the High Priestess's reign than it became when the terrible lady had ruled it for 5 years. The people were in despair. The Queen's law was obeyed to the letter by her adoring Berber regiments who carried out the task of devastation. Large numbers of Christians abandoned their once prosperous farms and towns and migrated to Spain and other Mediterranean islands. This had the side effect of eliminating Roman power in Africa altogether, because the Romans were the ones who owned the richest properties, which were now destroyed. And the lady made it clear that she did not want the Romans around, not as a political force. What the Muslims with their fair play and justice had not been able to achieve in 5 years was achieved by the High Priestess in 5 years of crazy rule. Exit the Roman Empire. As the devastation progressed, many Christian groups and even more sensible Berber clans sent pleas to Hassan bin Noman in Barqa, asking him to come back. The effect of the Queen's scorched earth policy led not only to the material destruction of Africa, but also to the disaffection of her people and the disunity of the Berber nation, which was by nature a disunited nation anyway. This self-inflicted wound hastened the lady's fall. It was not till 79 Hijri, which began on March 20, 698 AD, that Caliph Abdul Malik mustered another force for Africa. He assembled a well-balanced army of cavalry and infantry and dispatched it to strengthen Hassan at Barqa. With this army came the Caliph's instruction to take Africa. This would be the 6th invasion, and the Muslims hoped that it would be the last time that they would have to invade Africa. But the Muslims had held that hope in previous invasions too. Before setting out on the campaign, Hassan wished to know the state of his enemy. So he sent a trusted messenger to Africa to see Khalid bin Yazid, who had lived there for 5 years as the adopted son of the High Priestess. Hassan's messenger got to him and conveyed the message. "What prevents you from writing to us about the Kahina?" Khalid bin Yazid wrote on a piece of paper. The Berbers are disunited. They have no order and no organization. Move fast. He put the paper in a lump of dough and baked it into a loaf of bread. He placed the loaf with the other food prepared as provisions for the journey and gave it all to the messenger, telling him not to break or eat the loaf because of what was in it. The messenger set off for Barqa. Hardly had he left the capital of the queen when she came out with dishevelled hair. She beat her breast and wailed, "Woe to you, O Berbers! Your sovereignty has gone with what men eat." Her men spread out in the land looking for the Arab messenger, but he succeeded in evading capture and got to Barqa, where he delivered the loaf to Hassan. Hassan broke it open and read the message. The paper had been partly spoiled in baking, but he understood its contents all the same. He wished to send the messenger back to Khalid bin Yazid for more information, but the man protested. That woman is a diviner. Nothing of this is hidden from her. Hassan let him stay. Again the Muslims marched from Africa, with great hope and in great strength. For weeks the journey went on through Tripoli, through Gabes, headed for the Orus Mountains. The Muslims were quite close to the mountains when the high priestess came out with her Berber hordes. At the foot of the hills, somewhere between the foothills and the valley of Miskiana, she went into camp, not far from the Muslim camp. As night fell, she said to her sons, "I am killed." She told them that in a vision she had seen her severed head placed before the ruler of the Arabs who had sent Hassan bin Roman. Khalid bin Yazid pleaded with her to surrender, to come with him and make her submission before the Muslim commander. She refused to do so. Then she turned to her two sons. "O my sons, what do you see in the heaven?" "We see a red cloud," they replied. "No, by my lord," said the queen. "It is the dust of the Arab cavalry." Now she turned to Khalid. "It is for this day that I made you my son. I am going to be killed, and I entrust my two sons to you." She directed him to take her sons to Hassan and ask his protection for them. Khalid explained that if she herself did not submit, the Muslim commander might not accept the submission of his sons, but she assured him that he would. In fact, she went on to predict that they would rise to become great men under the Arabs. During the night, Khalid left the Berber camp and, accompanied by his two foster brothers, entered the Muslim camp, which was not very far. He told Hassan of the request of the Berber chieftainess, adding his own recommendation, which was accepted by the Muslim commander. The sons of the queen were safe. For the time being, however, he put them under guard and sent Khalid to command a Muslim cavalry regiment. On the following day was fought the second battle between Hassan and the high priestess. She was not as strong as before because of the disaffection and disunity created in her nation by her own actions. But nevertheless, the Berbers put up a hard, if futile, resistance. This time the issue was soon decided. The Berbers were defeated and the high priestess slain on the battlefield, as she herself had predicted. The place where she fell came to be known as the Well of the Kahina. Hassan penetrated the Orus Mountains and subdued all the clans living in the area. The Berber chieftains came in large numbers to submit to the Muslim commander and ask for peace. They had had enough of war and misery, at least for the time being. After the devastation caused by their queen and high priestess, there was nothing they wanted more than peace. They were now fully prepared to end their war with the Muslims, to accept the Muslims as overlords, and get down to normal, peaceful, prosperous living. Before accepting their submission, Hassan laid down two conditions. They would accept Islam, and they would raise a military force of 12,000 men to be ready at all times, to take the field and fight the wars of Islam on the orders of the Muslim commander-in-chief. The Berbers, and these were mainly the clans living in the Orus Mountains, and the province of Carthage accepted these conditions without reservation. They became Muslims, and they organized a force of 12,000 Berber warriors to fight under overall Muslim command. Hassan placed the elder son of the Kahina in a command of this Berber force and also appointed him chief of the tribe of Jarawa and governor of the region of the Oros Mountains. This young man proved a loyal subject, a true Muslim, and an able officer. He and his Berber contingents fought bravely in several expeditions, which were launched by Hassan to deal with pockets of resistance, mainly recalcitrant Berber clans which were taking their time to make up their minds. Having seen to these immediate problems of security in relation to the Berbers, Hassan returned to Kairouan. Here he set himself up as governor of Africa and reorganized the administration of the province. A tax was imposed upon all Christians and other non-Muslims in Africa, mainly Romans and Berbers from the tribal groups of Buranis, that were the Kuselas people, who clung for a long time to the Christian faith. Thus many years passed in peace and tranquility. There is some uncertainty about the duration of Hassan's rule as governor of Africa. There is mention of it ending in 82 Hijri, 701 AD, which is likely, but there is also mention of his seeing Walid bin Abdul Malik at Damascus, which is unlikely, because Walid did not become caliph until 86 Hijri, when his father Abdul Malik died at the end of a 20-year reign. He may, however, have seen Walid while the latter was still heir apparent. In the absence of more definite evidence, we take 82 Hijri as the probably year of his dismissal. In this year, 8 years after he had killed the queen of the Berbers, Hassan was dismissed by the governor of Egypt, who also had Africa under him as part of his governorate. This man was Abdul Aziz bin Marwan, a brother of Caliph Abdul Malik and son of the evil Marwan. He was just as evil and avaricious as his father. He dismissed Hassan from office and summoned him to Egypt. Hassan knew what Abdul Aziz was after: wealth and women. He had a large caravan of camels and horses prepared for the journey, carrying slaves and slave girls and goods of all kinds, which all fell in the category of the state's share of war booty. Officially, all this was meant for Damascus and the Muslim state, but Hassan feared the worst at Fustat. Consequently, he had the best part of the booty, which was a large collection of precious stones and gold ornaments, put in water skin. This bag, looking for all purposes like a skin bag with water for the journey, was carried by a trusted attendant moving close to Hassan. Upon arrival at Fustat, he went to pay his respects to the governor. As a present, he offered the governor 100 girls from princely Roman and Berber families. Girls of such extraordinary beauty could not be purchased in the East for 1,000 gold pieces. Abdul Aziz asked to know of everything that Hassan had brought with him from Africa, and he took everything. Hassan left Fustat with nothing more than a simple common water skin. Accompanied by a few faithful followers, he traveled to Damascus. There he complained bitterly to the Caliph about what had been done to him by Abdul Aziz bin Marwan at Fustat. The Caliph soothed his ruffled feelings. Then Hassan sent for his water skin and tore it open, scattering on the floor his marvelous store of gems and ornaments of gold. The Caliph gazed spellbound at the breathtaking sight. When he had found his speech, he thanked Hassan profusely for the gift. In all truthfulness and modesty, Hassan replied, "I only went out as a holy warrior fighting in the way of Allah. It is not men like me who cheat Allah or his Caliph." The Caliph promised to restore him to his command, but Hassan had had enough of high office. He had earned more merit with Allah than 1,000 men could earn in a lifetime. He had been the commander of the 5th and 6th invasions of Africa, but different from his predecessors in that he had conquered not to give up again but to keep. He had brought the Berbers into submission and established an administration in Africa that would endure. He needed no more glory and sought no more office. He was quite blunt in declining the caliph's offer. "I shall never again take office under the Bani Umayyah," he declared. After his return from Africa, Hassan went into retirement and died soon after. May Allah be pleased with Hassan bin Noman, the trusted sage. End of chapter 24.